Good evening and welcome to Green TV Pat Foundation Live. Hope you're all okay out there and thank you for tuning in and listening. Tonight we have a very special guest, Steve Wilson, who has just been re-elected, he'll tell me how many times, as the Mayor of Hull again. So hi Steve, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you for asking me.
No, absolutely. And how many times have you been Mayor now for, Steve?
I've only been Mayor once, but it was for 2 years. But I've been elected onto the council 6 times.
Wow. So obviously I'm based here over in Hull, so this is much a privilege, and I'm a little bit starstruck, Steve, so to be talking to you tonight. So thank you very, very much for coming on the show. So I'd like to ask you a few questions on being the Mayor, if that's okay, and we'll talk about the work that you're doing within the city. So first of all, what does it mean being the Mayor of Hull? Generalised, well, there you go.
It's the Lord Mayor. So, there is a difference.
Right, you tell me. There you go.
There used to be, Hull is the 12th in the order of Lord Mayors. Right. Hull is the 12th one in the country. So if all the mayors of the country got together, I'd be 12th in a procession, or I would have been when I was Lord Mayor up until recently. Wow. So it's very strict protocol, but there's about 21 cities in the UK, in England, that have a Lord Mayor. Sometimes just have a mayor. So it's quite important, and it's quite, you usually get it as from the Queen, to say that your city is allowed to have a Lord Mayor or a charter. So it's steeped in history.
Very, very impressive. And how did you become that Lord Mayor, Steve? What did you have to do?
Well, in our city, it's on longevity. So it's whoever's been on the council the longest, but you have to be in the ruling group. So I'm a Labour councillor. Okay. So it happened that all the people who've been on longer than me have either been Lord Mayor or don't want to do it. So it became my turn, and I accepted it.
Oh, perfect. I mean, you do a lot of work for Hull. I know I follow you on Twitter, so I've seen that the work that you've been doing is very worthwhile. So what's on the agenda for Hull then now you've been re-elected? What's the game plan?
Well, I mean, I represent a ward called University Ward, and I've been there now 8 years representing that ward. So over that time, I've got to know quite a lot of people who live there, all the organisations in there. And the idea is that I work with them. We get a small budget for each ward, and me and my colleague go around asking people what they want that money spent on. So we only spend money as a councillor for your ward on what people in your ward want. I don't walk around thinking, oh, let's have a new road there, or let's put some double yellow lines there. It's requests from people in the ward. So we're spending, it's only a tiny amount, but it gives them, it's their sort of like, it's democracy and transparency. They ask for it and we try and make it happen.
That's brilliant. I mean, I've noticed over the years the regeneration that Hull's had, and it's I think we get a bad rap sometimes, Hull. It's kind of at the end of the M62. It's the end of the road, so they say. I think it stems from Only Fools and Horses back in the day when they did that. It's a Hull and Back episode. Yes,
if you look back then at pictures, it did look a bit drab. You go now into the marina and the fruit market and Humber Street and all the developments. It's quite a transformation.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the term was now I think we sort of say it's never dull in Hull. Well,
that's
Hull.
right.
They miss the H out, don't they? We're being quite sort of prim and proper tonight, but it's not. It's Hull. so yes, it's massively coming on. So it does have a bad rap. So in terms of, I met you a couple of weeks ago looking at a project with the Green Task Force. So obviously this is for Green TV, for the Pat Foundation, which obviously runs this Green Task Force. So just tell our viewers what was on the game plan there, because there's a few little projects that's coming to fruition, isn't there?
There is. I mean, in the ward I represent, we've just got one piece of open land really of any significance, and it's a King George V playing field. And there's many of those around the country that were bequeathed by King George, and in the last 7 years, we've tried to develop that. We installed a junior park run track last year. So we're going to start Junior Park Run, which is great because this is right in the middle of quite a deprived council estate.
Yes,
so we want to get young kids involved and the schools involved. But we've also put in kiddie equipment in it. But we've got this huge chunk, which unless you really, really wandered around the whole boundary of the park, you really wouldn't know how much land is just left unused and utilised. And I just, having met Andy and planting some trees when I was Lord Mayor up at Alderman Neashaw, I just thought, well, why can't we do that here? You know, so I think it was Steve who came down with you. He said we could probably get 2,000 trees in that park, which would just be incredible. I want it to be a memorial woodland walk, and it backs onto a facility that's used by young adults who've got quite severe handicaps.
Yes, I saw that.
We, whilst you were there with us, we discovered this concrete path right from their back door into the middle of what would be the forest or the woodland walk. So I had the therapy of it, and you know, getting the veterans involved and everything. It just ticks so many boxes, and I just want to see it. It probably won't happen whilst I'm still the councillor, but it'll be great to see that develop over time and get people involved in it. And I think if we can get people to own it, we've got a friends of group of the park, and they're all keen to get involved and police it and look after it for us. And that woodland will just be such an addition to the area. It really will.
Oh, absolutely agree. I mean, it's tucked away. It's quite sort of hidden. It's like one of those nature's little tucked away lost little gems. And it's funny, I think during COVID, it's massively, I mean, I've mentioned this previously, you know, everybody saw the benefits of being outside and, you know, with having the restrictions of not doing our day-to-day, going to the offices, you know, going to pubs and restaurants. And, you know, it's a real easy way to go outside and enjoy. So I think nature spaces, and that's not just some plug for the Green TV here, you know, this is common knowledge throughout, you know, the whole of everywhere and the cosmos, if you like. So yeah, it'd be really good, and it'll be a good way of getting the community to engage in it. It's for people, it's for families of all generations. So yeah, that's super excited about that, and it'll be a really good project. So I know you and Andy are in talks with doing that. So are you a Hull guy, born and bred, or have you come over here from somewhere else? Is it? I
was actually born in Hessel, which is just outside Hull.
Yeah.
For my Lord Mayor's acceptance speech, I had a laugh and said, because to be president of the United States, you have to be born in the United States, and it's a good job it doesn't happen to be Lord Mayor, because I was born 1.1 miles outside the boundary.
Oh wow!
So my parents and my grandparents and my great grandparents are all from Hull. So and I moved back to Hull when I was 20. So yeah, I think I can class myself as a Hull person.
So you're not some outlaw. No, not at all. So also, Stephen, so what other projects are on the agenda? I know you do massive worthwhile work with the homeless and the shelter with young people. So tell me more about that. Yeah,
I work for a company called Hull Resettlement Project. We've been going 30 years. I've worked there 20 years. Wow. And we have a wide remit of ages. It's 16 to 100. I personally manage 2 of the hostels for the younger clients. And in that 20 years, I've seen different types of homelessness, different reasons to be homeless. And it's an incredible job, and no 2 days are ever the same. But it's inspiring some days, and sometimes it's terribly sad, because we've got 16 and 17-year-olds who have been made homeless for sometimes ridiculous reasons. We've just had a 16-year-old lad move in whose mother and father threw him out because he told them he was gay. And that's happening now in the 21st century in the Western world, that's a reason to throw your own child out. And he's a lovely lad. He goes to school every day. He goes out in his school uniform, which is quite strange to see coming out of the hospital. He gets the bus himself and does his homework. And he's absolutely lovely. And his mum and dad just couldn't cope with that news.
It's both sad and tragic in the same sort of remit, and thank goodness there's people like yourselves that can help. I mean, you know, can you imagine if you'd not have come along and helped, and you know what kind of life you know, may have fallen into. And that's really sad that that goes on in this day and age, when there's everything's accepted and everything, and well, as it should be. So that's really sad to hear that, Steve, unfortunately. So you've mentioned the shelter company that you work for. How do can people help, you know, members of the public like myself, for example? Is there anything people can do if they want to help?
I think the thing that we really like is when people make a donation of toiletries, because that's quite a luxury for our kids, and you know, they're on limited incomes, and quite a lot of them smoke. I know they smoke, but if it makes them feel better, we don't encourage it. But if you're there all day and you really need something to occupy, if that's helps your anxiety levels, then they do that. And I know they're expensive, but it's the toiletries, even period dignity products. I found out a couple of years ago that some of the staff that work for me, the females, were buying them themselves. And I saw this happening. I saw a transaction between a member of staff and a girl, and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Oh, I've bought her some tampons." And I said, "Oh my God, you shouldn't be doing that. We should be getting them ourselves." You know, no young woman should have the indignity of going to someone else to ask for that. That is just not on. So we've sorted that now. We have that. But donations of toiletries is always very welcome.
Oh, that's lovely. I mean, what we'll probably do is, if people want to, we'll put some links and things on, you know, for that for you. So that's sad, and it's sad in this day and age that that's happening. But you know, as the work that we've been doing with the Green Task Force, so moving over to the veteran side, you know, it does happen, and life is a roller coaster, isn't it? You know, it's not fairy tales and butterflies, you know, even though most days that's how I wake up, that's how I like to think. But, you know, the harsh reality is that, you know, life is hard. And I think as long as you can help somebody and, you know, make a worthwhile difference in life, that's, you know, that's most of it, isn't it? It's just making a difference to somebody's life. So I'd like to talk, obviously, in the veteran side in Hull. Obviously, that's close to my heart, and, you know, along with the Green Task Force. So how do you see with the veterans, and, you know, do you see this problem in Hull, for example, or do you think there's quite a lot of support going on in there?
When I became Lord Mayor, and you get involved with all sorts of organisations, and I saw that the veterans are part of the Lord Mayor's year, I didn't think there'd be sort of a group I'd particularly get on with, or be fond of, because of my sexuality. How wrong was I? They've made me an honorary veteran at the Goodwin, at the Veterans Hub. They have a fantastic laugh with me and Carl. And I sort of started off this Civic Crown Award scheme, and so many of the veterans, they had their own day because so many of them got them. I was just so impressed at their outlook on life and what they do for the community, and the camaraderie between them is something I've never seen before. You know, if I can say heterosexual men hugging each other and supporting each other and telling them they love each other, and it's like, it blew my mind a bit, but it's a real bond, the tribe that they've got. And I went to a few breakfast clubs. In fact, my first ever gig as Lord Mayor was a breakfast club, a veterans breakfast club, and I was completely amazed at not only the people who run it, but the people who go, and the value they get out of it is just incredible. They're an incredible, and coming out of being Lord Mayor, I thought I'd lose touch, but quite a lot of those veterans are on my Facebook page now, and we talk regularly. They're an amazing bunch, and it's just, I think Hull is pretty lucky. We've got Paul Matson for a start, haven't we, in Hull for Heroes, and we've got the the Goodwin Centre, and the stuff that's going on, and we've got Councillor Alan Gardner, who is I think the veterans champion. Amazing work. So they're there. They're always there on the agenda, I think, as the council are concerned, and getting him involved in the Green Task Force in planting trees is just an amazing idea. It really is.
Yeah, I'm quite proud to say that the Green Task Force, although it's massively and rapidly encroaching the UK has, you know, organically been grown in Hull by Andy Steele. So yes, it's, you know, it's worthwhile. And you've hit the nail on the head. We see veterans that are, you know, quite nervous and they think, oh, you know, going out in nature and you know, how's that sort of going to help? And as soon as they get together, it's like this big family, it's this big network, and you really feel that sense of community. It's inspiring. I mean, the banter and some of the laughs, I mean, initially, I mean, it took me a while. I think I blushed for, I think it was a very good fair few weeks until I got a little bit more hardened to it. And now they're actually teaching me, well, some of the guys are actually teaching me some of the Navy talk. So I can't repeat it on air. One, because I'm a lady, and two, because it's I don't know, is it past 9 o'clock is the watershed, so I can't be. It's very colourful, put it that way. But the thing is the banter. It's nothing offensive or meant offensive. You know, they have this camaraderie in there, and they take the mickey and, you know, sarcastic and some of the, but none of it's said in jest. None of it's meant, you know, maliciously or to hurt anybody. And it's literally like they're back on crew, back in the forces, back, you know, on ship or wherever regiment that they're in, and it's a good community. So being involved with it's been very good, and as I know, obviously you are involved with them as well. So there's also a homeless element. Obviously we've got veterans homeless, and I know obviously that the guys are working hard behind the scenes to sort that out. So yeah, as a community, everybody's working really well. It's nice to see. So what's on the agenda for the rest of the year, because we're moving out of lockdown pretty quickly, thank goodness. So in terms of rollout for Hull, we've got inside pubs and restaurants, things opening next week. So what else is happening in Hull, Steve?
Well, I think we're used to having massive events in Hull, like Pride. I opened Pride 3 years running.
Wow.
And the first 2 years, the first year there was something like 15,000 people in the Queen's Gardens. The second year, when I was actually Lord Mayor, there was something like 18,000 people. And last year, I did it to a laptop on a dustbin in a street. No atmosphere, but there were people there at the other end of it. So hopefully this year is a bit of a transition year to see how we can go back to those big events. And things like Pride are needed, because people who are unsure about not just sexuality or unsure about coming out, quite often there's a couple of tents there where people can go, feel safe, and actually come out. And it's
about expressing, isn't it? Totally.
So there's all these events. We have Humber Sesh, we have the Freedom Festival. So hopefully, some of the experiments that have been going around the country about, you know, getting tested and before you go into a big auditorium, we'll see how it goes. But it's hopefully we can get back to having those big events. I can understand people have been cautious. But,
absolutely. There's some talk of it's like a passport system. They're talking about us having carrying a passport that obviously gives the information, and that's kind of your ticket into places, I guess. So which you know, so it seems on the face of it a pretty good idea. I mean, I've read in the news that they're opening Spanish borders. They're allowing obviously us to travel and things. So we're going to integrate very, very soon. So if there is going to be anything sort of, which hopefully, fingers crossed, everything crossed, that there isn't, but we're going to know pretty shortly. So hopefully things will move a lot better. So in terms of music and live events, do you think they'll be up and running again in Hull? Because Hull's got a massive vibrancy of music and entertainment, and I'm talking about Hull tonight, aren't I? Sorry, viewers, but I'm kind of plugging Hull tonight because I'm champion here, aren't we, Steve?
I think probably towards later on this year, we'll start having some of the venues back open and live performances. But it is amazing to see these scenes. That I think was it in Liverpool. They had a really big concert at the Brits night before last. People were tested before they went in and sat inside with no masks on. And it looked like everyone had a great time. So if we can organise that, you know, it might be sooner than you think.
Yeah, it'd be good. And I think we've been in lockdown way too long now, and it's been a year, and everybody's sort of adapted. And I think we kind of need to help everybody get past the anxiety, get back into normality, because people, I mean, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, isn't it? So it's you know, everybody's, it's helped in one aspect because it's got people outside in nature and appreciating the little things, and it's also raised mental health awareness. And so this, you know, good always comes from bad, I do believe. So hopefully that's gonna, because I know I have quite a lot of friends that have been affected by mental health, and you know, it's been hard, especially with people with smaller children. You know, you've had your granddaughter who's small, you know, sort of running around and, you know, being constantly, it's hard. My children are a little bit older, so it hasn't been as you know, that straining and that in that sense. But so that leads me on to, before we've got a little bit more time, I think, to talk, because I'm enjoying our chat, Steve. So tell me a bit more about you, Steve. So not Lord Mayor. So what is it like you like to do for hobbies and a weekend? Do you like listening to music and nature and things?
I do. It's a real treat because I work full time, and I'm also a city councillor, and you also do things for the party that you're in, to have a presence in your own ward. But so downtown to me is very precious. But I love going on holidays, and I cannot wait for us to be able to go abroad to Spain or somewhere. So I love going on holiday. And I love to meet. I've got some great friends. I love to meet all my friends and go to restaurants and cook meals and have them round. And listening to music and reading is a real luxury. And I don't think I've read a book for the last 2 years. But I look at books and thinking, oh, I just would love to sit down and read that book. But you know, I'm very lucky that I am so busy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is, but you know, it is important that respite time to recharge those batteries. Otherwise, what is it? Some of these gurus and some of these life coaches that, you know, I watch on YouTube and things. It's like a battery. Unless you recharge it, will run out. So, well,
I fully subscribe to that. Yeah.
You know, so it's, you know, it's good to be busy and be productive, and you're making a massive difference in the world. Oh, we've just got a comment up. Yes, I had Andy Preston, the mayor, the Middlesbrough mayor, people's elected mayor, on a couple of weeks ago, and we sort of challenged him. Obviously, I knew he was coming on the show, and being from Hull myself, I challenged him to a bit of a tree off. So he kind of he won't mind me saying that he said, "Yep, I'm going to plant sort of more trees." So I've kind of pushed you into this, or bullied you into this, Steve, so I do apologise. But what can you do to back that pledge up with Andy Preston, and what can you do for Hull to get more trees?
Well, I want to get Andy Steele and our lead officer for the veterans. She's got a very, very wide brief, Tracy Harsley, who is very involved with the veterans.
Yes, she is.
And she's very involved with lots of things. She's quite a powerful officer on the council, and she's a fantastic one. And I want to get Andy and her sat around the table to discuss this, because I'd like to see every ward doing their bit, but I want to see it not just individual bits of wards. I want to see the city's approach to it. I mean, I think we can make a lot of headway if we get Tracy involved with the veterans and tying it all up with the Green Task Force. I think we've got a fantastic opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's powerful, isn't it? You know, and it's the whole council. I mean, it's, you think about it, and I know it's funding and I know it's money, but it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You know, plant more trees. It's kind of, you know, it's our life force. We appreciate them. The trees give us back and appreciate us. So it's not just planting that tree. It does actually make a difference to our life force, and you know, that goes hand in hand with the bees. People, you know, make fun of us, and you know, the Dare to Bee project that Andy works with as well. It's, you know, without the bees, we would actually, and I didn't know this, we would actually be forced into extinction as human beings. I mean, how mad's that? It's unbelievable. So I just thought, oh yeah, honey for me toast, but actually, on a serious note, it's, you know, there's a lot more to it then. So
it's a fragile system, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. So right, well, thank you so much for coming on to the show, Steve. Had a lovely time. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we end this live broadcast? We will be recording this, so we'll be able to put it out on the various networks, and we'll be able to send you it also, Steve, so you can put it on Twitter, etc. So plenty of times to watch it again. But yeah, is there anything you'd like to add before I say goodbye to our viewers?
Just thank you and people like you and Andy for bringing this to the fore, and the way it's organised. You know, I just think it's amazing. And I was probably a late comer to this, but after seeing what Andy's done and what you've done, I'm just thinking, wow, we've just got to embrace this, you know, in the best way we possibly can. And municipalities like Hull, you know, we really need to take this on board. So I'd like to thank you for all you're doing and making it easy for us to do this. You know, instead of us just going somewhere and buying trees, you can help us do that.
Facilitate. Oh, thanks ever so much, Steve. That's really nice. That's a very, very nice way to end the show. So I appreciate that. So yes, so thanks ever so much, everybody, for watching. Had a lovely, lovely chat with Steve, and I wish you the very best for the rest of your evening. Keep up the good work. And if you can, make sure you go read. Go read. That's my little bossy bit for the end of the show. But tune in next week, everybody, where we'll have another live guest on the show. And thanks ever so much for watching. So it's bye from Gail Acaster, and it's bye from Steve. Bye for now.
Bye.